Hello, my name is Cássio Duarte. I'm very happy to be here sharing my experience as a Brazilian percussionist with you. I've been playing professionally for more than 20 years and have an honor to work with artists like Gal Costa, Djavan, Ivan Lins, Libertenauer, Toots Tillemans, and many others. On this video, I'll be explaining how the different instruments and parts work together to create some of the most fun grooves on the planet. All the parts will be demonstrated slowly first and then recorded on a faster tempo for the song. Please keep in mind that there are many different regional styles in Brazil. I'll be working on just a few of them. We are going to start from scratch, building up the song that you heard on the beginning of the video. That song has 3 short sections. Section A is a Samba and Pagode style, which is a modernization of an older style called Partido Alto. The Section B is in a Baião style that comes from the northeast of Brazil. In the Section C is a Samba enredo, or Batucada, that is the rhythm played by the samba schools in Rio de Janeiro during Carnival. By the way, the Batucada style is usually done a little faster. I'll be playing a little slower to make it a little easier for you to understand the rhythm. The first instrument we're going to work on is the pandeiro. The pandeiro looks like a regular tambourine, but is designed and tuned a little differently. The jingles are tighter, and you can tune the head in a different ways, a little lower or higher, depending on what part you're doing on the song. Check it out. There are a few different models of pandeiro. This one that I'm holding on has a rawhide skin. The other one has a plastic skin. And they also have different sizes. So this one is for a more acoustic approach for situations where you're playing and it needs to be softer and you don't have a trap drummer playing with you. So you get a more bassy sound of the head. And you hold it like this in an angle. And don't put too much tension on your hand, otherwise you're going to be tired very soon. And you use your fingers in the bottom to muffle the head, so you can get an open tone or a muffled tone. Kind of a similar part of a surdo. And the basic technique that you have to work on to develop your playing is 4 different movements. It's 1 thumb, 2 fingertip, 3 heel, and 4 fingertip again. You repeat that cycle, okay? So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So when you're more comfortable, you can loop that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And when you play the actual rhythm, you can alternate the 1, because on the samba rhythm, the 1 is muffled, the 2 is open. And so you can play, looking at the bottom now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can open the first note. So now we're going to play the first rhythm, okay? The first part, the first pandeiro part. And it's like the same technique I was doing before. It's just you're going to do the thumb on the first beat closed and on the second beat open. So it'll be like this. 1 and 2 and 2 and 2 and... So, okay, now we're going to do the second rhythm, the Baião. Slowly first. The accent is like this. It's an open tone on the downbeat. So it'll be... So I'm adding a slap now just before the 1. And when you do the slap, you can turn the pandeiro, flip it like sideways to make it easier. You get a better sound. And you also hear a little bit of the jingle movement. Okay, and now the third part, the samba enredo part, is similar to the first part. I'm just going to be adding a slap like I did with the baião on the fourth beat just before the 1. The fourth quarter, 16th note, I'm sorry. Okay? 1 and 2. Now let's record the song. 1, 2. Now the second pandeiro part. This one has a plastic head and it's tuned up higher, so you can play louder. And if you're playing in an ensemble situation with a trap drummer, that's the pandeiro to use. So on the first section of the song, the partido alto, the pattern goes like this. 1, 2. And you're basically just doing slaps and thumb. And you let the thumb bring loose, open tone, and you muffled for the slaps in the back. The second part, the baião part, is the same one as the first pandeiro. The third part, the samba enredo, is similar to the first one. We're just going to be alternating the parts. Instead of doing a straight figure like thumb, fingertip, heel, fingertip, thumb, it's a 2 to 4 bars loop. On the second one, instead of doing, I'm going to do the 4N instead of, I'm going to show it to you slowly, okay? 1, 2. Now let's record the second pandeiro part. 1, 2. Now we're going to talk about the surdo. The surdo is the bass drum of the Brazilian rhythmic ensemble. It's also called the mother drum because it holds everybody together. It's very important for the feel of the samba. This one is a 20-inch surdo, a wood shell with independent tuning and legs, which make it more comfortable to play on stage, or in a studio situation, you can also get a more precise tuning. On the streets, you see the guys playing with a strap, and because they go on the parade during Carnival with the surdos hanging on the strap so they can walk with it. So the first surdo part, I'll be playing on the first section of the song and on the third and last section of the song. I'm not going to be playing on the middle of the baião style, because for that I'm going to be playing the zabumba, which is going to be the next instrument we're going to work on. So the surdo part, you play with a mallet. Try to play with a soft mallet. If you play with a too hard mallet, you don't get a very low-end sound. And as you probably know, most of the sambas are written in 2/4, not in 4/4 like most Caribbean Latin rhythms, because of the way the harmony changes, the way the harmony drops in the beginning of the bar. So the first beat is going to be muffled, and the second open. And that makes people a little confused because of the second beat is open, they think that's actually the first beat of the bar. But once you know it, you know it. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. You notice that I use my hand to muffle it and also to get a grace note just before the downbeat. For the third section, I'll be letting the note ring more, the second beat, the open tone, because that in a situation where you have what we call the bateria, the big drum ensemble, with like 300, 400 guys playing together. So the first surdo part, or the surdo de marcação, as we say in Brazil, is just a long open note. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now let's record the first surdo part. Now we're going to work with the zabumba, which I'm going to play on the second section of the song, the baião style. The zabumba is like a bass drum. Like the surdo is used for the samba, the zabumba is used for the baião. And you hold it like this sideways in an angle. So you can play with both hands. On the top, in a lower tuning, use a short mallet. And on the bottom, with a thin stick, use to make accents. And you tune the bottom a little higher and the top a little lower. Okay? And the part goes like this. It's also a 2/4 bar. And you count it like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. These days, there's a newer style called forró, which is like a modernization of the baião, in which there's a lot more variations on the zabumba. And I'm going to show you a little bit how people play the forró these days. Now, let's record the baião part. Okay, now we're going to add the triangle on the baião style in the middle of the song. And that's because typically there's no trap drummer with it. There's no hi-hat part, or there's no shaker. You could have shaker too, but typically you see trios in the northeast of Brazil, which is just triangle, zabumba, and the accordion. So the triangle part, very important, it's like this. It's just 16th notes muffled, and you open on the upbeat, okay? 1 and 2 and. One, one, one. So a very easy part, but adds a lot to the feel of the baião. Let's record it. So now we're going to add the agogo part on the baião section, which is very simple, but very important. It's just a quarter note on the downbeat of the bars, okay? It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Very simple, repetitive, but very important. Also, it's important to play it sideways so you can muffle the sound and not be ringing too much, okay? So now let's record the agogo on the baião section. The second surdo. The second surdo in Brazil is called surdo de segunda or surdo resposta, which means an answer surdo because it answers the first surdo that we recorded before on the Samba and the Batucada style. This one is similar to the other one that we did, the first part, but it's 18 inches. It's tuned up a little higher, like a third higher than the other one. And the playing technique is also very simple. And we're going to be recording that only on the Samba and style. The playing technique for the second surdo, it's similar to the first surdo. You use the same kind of mallet, but you hit the 1 of a 2/4 bar instead of the 2. And you use the hand for the other beat to muffle it. Okay? So it goes like this, slowly. 1, 2. You let the beat resonate. It's very simple, but works good with the other part. Let's record it. This is the tam-tam. We're going to be playing the tam-tam on the first section of the song, the Samba Pagode style. It's a lower pitch drum. It complements the surdo. And you can play standing up or sitting down. You use the shell to accent on the upbeat. And you play basically muffled and open tones with your fingertips. The part is very simple and goes like this. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Now let's record the tam-tam part on the first section of the song. 1, 2. This is the rebolo that we're gonna add on the first section of the song on the pagode style. It's gonna complement the tam-tam. It's also played sideways. It uses slap and open tones, and it's tuned up a little higher than the tam-tam. Has a more active and bass part. You can use the shell for accents, and the part goes like this, slowly first. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1. This is the part, but keep in mind that there are many variations for it. It's almost like a bass solo drum part. Now let's record the rebolo. 1, 2. If you notice, both the tam-tam and the rebolo use this kind of head, which gives a more warm bass tone. In Brazil, we call it pele de napa. It's a kind of a naugahyde vinyl on top of the plastic that gives that nice bass tone. Now it's time to record the tamborim. The tamborim means little drum in Portuguese. Makes sense, right? We're going to record, there are two different parts. The first part I'm going to record on the pagode style. We're going to use a small wood stick. And on the Samba and style, we're going to use another stick to get the flam sound. So now, for the first part, the pagode style, you're going to hold the tamborim like this, and you use your fingers in the back to do like grace notes, okay? The part goes like this, slowly first. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. It's also a drum that has many variations on the pattern. For the samba enredo, there are figures that you can do, arrangements with many tambourines, and you sound very nice. So now we're going to work on the tambourine part for the last section of the song, the Samba and Batucada style. For that section, we're going to need a different kind of stick. It's a plastic stick that uses 3 or 4 or 5 sticks together to get a flam sound of the tambourine, like this. And usually on the big samba schools, the baterias, they're like 40, 50 guys playing it, and they have arrangements to play together, part arrangements. but I'm just gonna do one style of tamborim for the samba enredo, which goes like this, slowly first. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's a little tricky because you have to turn the tamborim right between the third and the fourth beat. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. And you hit the fourth beat on the way up with your stick. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Okay? So let's record the part. Now it's time to add the third surdo to the last part of the song, the Samba Enredo Batucada style. The third surdo, it's tuned up a little higher, and it's called the cut surdo or the center surdo. In Brazil, we call it surdo de corte or centrador, because it cuts through the beat, adds a lot of feel for the samba. And now we're going to be using a metal shell surdo, which resonates a little more than the wood shell. And the part goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Now let's record the surdo and see how they work together, all the three parts. The hand repique. The hand repique is also played sideways. It's a small drum, and it's called the hand repique, or repinique de mão, or repique de mão in Portuguese, because it sounds similar to the repinique, which is played with one stick and a hand, which I'm going to demonstrate later. And it's a high-pitched drum. It's kind of like a solo drum you play on top of the beat, so you are allowed to do some variations and have fun with it. You know, it's a great drum to do that. And you can basically use fingertip, slap, open tone, the shell. It depends on how creative you get. But the part for the first section of the song, the pagode, goes like this. But remember, you can always make variations on top of it. 1, 2, 1, 2. Something like that. So you can use that kind of technique to get rolls and the fingertips and have fun with it. Let's record it. This is the tarol. It's our piccolo snare used on the parades during the carnival. A lot of guys play it on the top because they're marching down the street, dancing. But for a studio or stage, it's good to use on a snare stand. And it gives a very good feel for the samba. Most of the samba schools, they have like trademark patterns that differentiate one from another. The pattern we're going to use on the last section, the batucada, goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's record the tarol on the batucada section. This is the timbal. Timbal is a great sounding drum. It's mostly used on the rhythms from Bahia, the samba reggae, samba afro. And the technique used to play it, it's similar to an African djembe or an Afro-Brazilian drum called atabaque. So for the timbal, you're going to mainly use 3 strokes. It's an open tone, a slap, in a low center bass sound you get on the center of the drum, like this. So, open, slap, and the low tone. So the part we're going to adapt for the batucada goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. So let's record the timbal now. By the way, if you're playing the timbal in a bigger setup, in a stage, it's better to use on a stand. But if you're playing it by itself on an ensemble situation or a recording on the studio, you're more mobile if you have it on a strap. Have fun with it. Now we're going to work on the repinique. This is a great instrument to play. It's usually the instrument that gives the cues for the other drummers to start and to finish. It's very important on the bateria, the drum sections of the samba schools. And it's better if you use a short stick with it so you have more control. For the samba enredo style, the batucada style, which we're going to add the instrument at the end of the song, you use 1 bare hand and 1 stick. There are other styles of like samba reggae which use 2 sticks and 2 thin sticks. So for the samba enredo batucada style, the pattern goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So notice that the hand hits the drum just before the 1 and 1. as the 3 hits that you do with the stick, it comes closer to the edge of the drum. Let's record the repinique. Well, now we're going to play the cuica. It's a really fun instrument to play. It's also called the squeeze drum. You use a little piece of rag, fabric, that will create some friction on the stick inside, the bamboo stick, which is attached to the front. And it has to be something that will create the friction. So it could be a little sponge or a piece of rag that will create the friction on the stick. For the partido alto, the first section, the pattern goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. And for the third section, the batucada at the end of the song, you'll be doing basically 2 notes right before the downbeat. It's like and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. It goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. As you can notice, as I put my finger on the top of the head, the pitch goes up a little bit, and you change the pitch and makes it swing a little more. So let's record the cuica. 1 and 2 and 2 and 2 Now all the parts are recorded. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did playing them. Keep practicing. It might take a little time. Get together with some friends to try out the different drum parts. It makes even more fun. This is just the beginning. Thanks for watching.